What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hello and welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. It is an inmates running the asylum edition. I am the OG fake kid, Thomas Montalto, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
I'm Colton.
And join us today, we have the Pod Warriors. We have Seth and Jordan joining us from the Foley show. The Pod Warriors, how are you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. I think we're both in the Master Debaters Club at this time. I think this is like my 7th or 8th time on the show. And Jordan, you're at 5+, right?
Yeah, I think this is either my 5th or 6th time on. So, said inmates run the asylum. So I'm just gonna do a Nails voice the whole show.
Boss man,
come on, boys.
So me and Jordan, we got to get a few things ironed out schedule wise. But there's a chance we're going up to Detroit for SummerSlam, and I can tell you, out of the GCW show that's going to be there, out of the SummerSlam show, there's nothing I'm more excited about than the chance to meet Nails at WrestleCon, dude. Like, this dude's been completely persona non grata in the wrestling biz, basically since he left WWF and had that little short run in WCW where he fought Sting. So somehow they got talked him into coming out to WrestleCon, dude. So I'm trying to, if we end up making this happen, I'm going to find an MOC Nails figure just to go get autographed at WrestleCon.
And this guy, he doesn't make many appearances. He hasn't been seen in years, and now he has a new major bendy coming out. So I think we have to thank those guys for getting him to make some appearances and him realizing some money.
Yeah, he opened up. He's one of the few guys who's able to lead the business stay away. He opened up his own, it's either a auto repair shop or a body shop or something like that. But it's he's just been a fairly successful small business owner up there in Minnesota. But he's coming back out, man. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I do want to make one production note, give people a little peek behind the curtain. Me and Tom were going back and forth on debate topics today, and he suggested that we do Is the Bloodline the greatest faction of all time? And I just had to remind him that the name of the show is the Turnbuckle Debate, not the Turnbuckle stuff everybody already knows. So you guys can thank me for sparing you from that. Just spending 10 minutes explaining something that everybody already understands and acknowledges.
But so Sneed's not here today. I'm playing the role of Sneed. He's at the beach. He'll be back next week. And Chad just taking a little break. We miss those guys. We cannot wait for them to get back here. But anything else new going on over at the Foley show? What's coming up?
So we're still kicking around this week if we're going to do a Forbidden Door preview. Sheena, hopefully she doesn't bust in the room and smack me in the back of the head. She's not the biggest New Japan fan, so I don't know if she's got a lot of interest in doing a Forbidden Door preview episode. So we may just do something figure related this week. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, definitely a new episode of something will be dropping this week. And me and Jordan put the latest edition of the Pod Warriors online last week. We did basically the rise and fall of WCW Thunder.
Listen to that. Great show. All your shows are great, so that's no surprise. What do you say? You guys, are you ready to debate?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's get into it.
Our first question for the day is, will Jade win the AEW Women's Championship before 2024?
I mean, I'll start it off. I feel like she has to. I know she's taking a little time off right now, but she went 60-0 before Statlander came in and beat her for the TBS title. I think it probably wouldn't have gone that long if Statlander hadn't been hurt. I think Statlander was handpicked from the beginning to be the one to take it off her. I'm happy with that. But I feel like that's the lot. That's what else do you do with her when she comes back from this break other than get her into the title picture quickly, man? I mean, we're sitting here at June right now. We still got 6 months. I don't know how long this little hiatus she's taken to work on a personal project is going to last. Hell, even if she's out for 3 months, man, comes back in September, that's still 3 months. I mean, I'm thinking, yeah, most definitely she gets it by 2024.
I agree wholeheartedly, man. I'm glad it worked out. I have both these figures right here at my podcast studio, because I can tell you guys straight up, Jade is the closest thing to Roman Reigns that AEW has. Now, I'm talking just on the presence, star quality, like just leaps off the screen, right? Does she got, the craziest move set? No. Is she the best worker? No. But if I'm a non-wrestling fan, I'm flipping channels and Jade, this, beautiful Amazonian freaking chick is walking out down the ramp, I'm stopping and what I'm doing and going to see what she's all about, man. I think, like I said, I think she just leaps off the screen every time she's out there. My only concern, I think she needs to beat Britt to get the belt. I think this needs to be a proper coronation. So I think we need to do, whatever's got to happen, get from A to B to get the belt back on Britt Baker, and that's who Jade faces. Because I think that's the biggest women's match that AEW could put on right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jade is just, I don't know, man. She definitely has all the qualities of a star. I'm glad Seth referred to her as the Roman Reigns of AEW because she does do very little moves and she's not the best in the ring. So you kind of made my point on Roman with what you just said. So I'm glad you said it and I didn't have to. But yeah, she's definitely winning the belt at some point. I mean, I would guess in the next 6 months, but yeah, definitely before 2024 or in 2024. So yeah, Jade's definitely a star.
I mean, I don't see the reason why they would have stopped her run if that wasn't the plan. It makes no sense. They protected her even with the loss. I thought it was a good way to keep her protected after like a long, hard-fought battle with Taya. It protects her. She needs to move on to bigger and better things. She needs to hold that title now. And again, I hope she goes on a lengthy run with that title, like she did with the TNT title, or the TBS title. Not the TNT title, although she could hold that too, probably. Either way, that's being tossed around over there. But we won't get into that now. Listen, I'm happy to see what Chris Statlander is doing also. I think she's another great young talent there. But yeah, Jade, and I never thought about that. Having her beat Britt, that would be a really good way to set it up. I am imagining she will be back by the time All In comes. I can't imagine there's anybody on the AEW roster that doesn't want to be there for such a crowd, for such a great,
their biggest show ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see that crowd. I can't wait to see the card. And I would think Jade has to be a major part of that. Like Seth said, she is a true star. When I was in West Virginia visiting the Chads last year, and I was driving by the arena, I saw the wrestlers walk into the arena, and there was Jade just towering over everybody else there. She's the only one who stood out. And I'm like, oh my God, there's Jade. So, I mean, she's a special talent. She's working, and it can't be easy for her doing it on TV week in and week out. They didn't have the house shows to do like they have some house shows now. It's crazy at the lengths they went to get her better on TV. You don't really see that, but we got to watch her improve week after week. And you know what? She's already surpassed Roman Reigns. Like Jordan said, she's already better in the ring. So
all the best guys, man. Hulk Hogan had a big boot and a leg drop. Steve Austin had an elbow drop, Thez press, and a stunner. It's not about the moveset, man. You guys are watching all wrong.
Neither of those guys you just brought up, Seth, were unsuccessfully forced down our throats as a fucking babyface, and that's the only reason they work as a heel for 3 years.
The reason I think this is all just long-term booking, man. They knew from the start we're gonna give this guy all this fuel, dude. That's what makes Roman such a compelling character, man. He needed the booze, otherwise he'd just be another heel.
I love how this has dissolved into a Roman Reigns debate.
I mean, you get me and Seth on here, it's almost going to every time. So yeah,
I totally understand though, not to totally hijack and just make it Roman Reigns, because I mean, let's be real, we could spend an hour doing Roman and bloodline topics, but I do recognize that he is the epitome, the crossroads of where your wrestling philosophy is as a fan, right? Because he's not a work rate guy, dude. He's a storyteller in the ring, but if you're looking for the freaking electric chair drivers, the Hurricane Ranas, all that stuff, you're not getting that in a Roman Reigns match. It's going to be something, he's more akin to the Triple H style, slow WWE main event stuff.
I mean, you can't argue that. Let's go back to Jade though. Where would you guys still think she needs to improve? What else do you want to see from her to help continue making her a star?
I think she just needs reps, man. If you've read any of or listened to any of her interviews and stuff on podcasts, she's humble. She knows she's not the most experienced and isn't capable of going out and putting on that, pay-per-view main event style match like we just said. I think she just needs to get experience. And really that match she had before she lost the belt was probably the best match she's had so far in AEW. She just needs to continue pushing herself into deeper and deeper water so we could see her doing one of those main event style matches, man. I think she could do it. She's going to need the right partner in there. And I think somebody like Britt's talented enough to carry her to that big match.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think reps is one thing. I want to see her. I think with reps will come like her being able to put on a longer match because, right. I feel like the average Jade match we see is somewhere between like 6 and 9 minutes. And like, I would love to see a 20-minute match between Britt Baker and Jade Cargill. Like, I think, and I don't know, man. I mean, Jade's got the star power, like we all said. I mean, she passes the eye test more than anybody on the AEW roster, really. Any pro wrestling roster. I mean, mixed maybe like Jordan Grace, but like on physique. But man, she's I don't know. I like what you said, Seth, about having her take it off Britt, but I don't know how we get there. I almost think about maybe she's the one that takes it off Tony at All In, and then Britt's her next
first challenger to kind of give her the belt first, and then like kind of solidify the reign afterwards.
Which could be pretty
work.
cool. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think that's something AEW gets a lot of critique from a lot of different folks about, is like just the booking and the lack of storytelling in their women's division. I mean, what better way to give that belt a spotlight by putting it on somebody like Jade, and give it a little bit more legitimacy. Like Jade loves an open challenge. I mean, start doing a weekly open challenge for a while for the women's belt and give it a little bit of shine on everybody in the women's roster. I think it'd be a great idea.
No, I think that is a good idea, but can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I think what she can learn most is she should start watching Roman Reigns and watch his expressions and watch the little things he's doing in the ring, because to me that's where that guy's shining. Just his expressions, the eyes, like every little thing he does.
Talking shit to the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's so good at it. Like to me, I'm kind of joining Team Seth recently, watching Roman in the little things. Like the guy's on another level right now with his.
It just seems like a big deal when he's out there, dude. Like he brings the electricity. Like he used to get in like a big John Cena match, man. Like love him or hate him, like the buzz is there when he's in the ring, man.
And if she could pick up those little nuances, I think she'll be right there. I think she could be the same version in a women's division of all the women wrestlers.
I was going to say the same thing that Colton said about her working a longer match. I think her biggest problem, though, is her limited move set and just the experience she has in the ring. Although I will say AEW, as far as just the women's division as a whole, I kind of feel like that's one of their biggest problems as a whole is, I mean, outside of like a handful of girls, who do you trust to go out there and put on a 20-minute match? Like that's one of their biggest problems. WWE has, I don't know, 10 people that they can throw out there and do a 20 to 30-minute women's match and you would buy it. AEW, dude, if they're running a 20 or 30-minute women's match, either something went way wrong and somebody got their wires crossed or somebody got hurt really bad in the back and they needed to carry some time. So I don't know. I just feel like AEW's women's division as a whole needs a lot of work. Jade is not excluded from that. Jade's definitely a star, but she definitely needs way more work in the ring, obviously.
I would send her some Charlotte Flair tape to watch while she's out, man. I think that's somebody she could aspire to. Not to like straight up rip her whole moveset, but take a look at a lot of things that Charlotte does and, put your own spin on them, man. I think Charlotte's, she's she's not necessarily like a freak of nature like Jade is, but she's definitely probably like one of the powerhouse style wrestlers for the women in WWE. And, Jade's enough of a good athlete. I think she could do a lot of the same stuff Charlotte's doing to help expand that moveset a little bit.
Yeah, Charlotte uses her body a lot when she wrestles, and I feel like Jade should definitely take advantage of that because, yeah, you're exactly right. Like, Charlotte will throw a cross body, and it looks like it's going to knock somebody out of the ring. So,
yeah.
That's a great point, actually. I'd love to. What about a Charlotte versus Jade match eventually?
That would be awesome, dude.
We need at least a year or two for Jade before we can even consider running that.
Yeah, but
I'd be willing to bet, man. If we took a look at Triple H's wish list for AEW, I feel like Jade might be number one or close to it, man. Like she seems like a WWE wrestler just in AEW.
Dude, there's like 3 dream matches I'd love to see her wrestle: Bianca, Rhea, and Charlotte. I think all 3 of them would all give her a hell of a match.
My young favorite right now in WWE, I love Raquel. I think she's going to be a star of the future too. I can't wait. Like she made Ronda Rousey look good in their singles match on SmackDown before Charlotte came back that night.
Yeah,
like, I think that girl's going to be right up there with all these. I really do.
She got to get a better pose, man. We talk shit about her entrance all the time. That stupid like back flex deal. Like What the hell even is that?
I mean, yeah, Triple H should just take her aside and say, "Don't do that."
Cut that shit out.
I
Yeah.
don't know what that is, but okay, you have shoulders.
Congrats.
All right, you guys ready to move on to the next topic?
Love Jade, dude. Are we all in agreement she's getting that belt sometime?
Yeah,
before,
she's got to get it before
New Year's.
2024.
I
Yeah.
can't
okay.
imagine not. She has to. I think she absolutely has to.
Yep.
All right, let's go. What is the best wrestling figure line ever? Seth, this was your topic. Go ahead.
So, all right. Objectively, Mattel WWE Elites is the best line, right? They've had the license for a long time, continually evolved, put out great stuff. But I think 30 years from now, I think people are still going to be going nuts trying to find WWF Hasbros. I don't know if people are going to be as excited for Mattels, and that may just be a product of there's so many Mattels. I mean, you put together a whole set of Hasbros. Not that it's easy or cheap, but it can be done. It's going to be impossible for somebody, 10 years from now getting into it to go back and put together a whole set of Mattels. It's just not going to be a thing you could reasonably do. So for that reason, I think WWF Hasbro is the greatest figure line of all time.
Right. Jordan?
That's pretty tough to argue, honestly. I mean, even in the past 5 years, look at how much popularity the Hasbro line has gained again. I mean, COVID really made people want to put these back in their collections. And dude, I remember you see these all the time at like Goodwill and stuff like that, just sitting because nobody was buying these things anymore. And it's amazing the revival of these things in the last 5 years. I mean, we're basically getting new Hasbros by different companies now. Like
so many, you can't even keep up with them.
It's insane to me. So it is really hard to argue Hasbro. Just for the sake of argument, though, I'm going to go with the Defining Moments line. I think that line before they originally canceled it was on pace to be the best wrestling line ever. That set of figures is, to me, it's hard to beat. Like the entire set, start to finish, has been so good. And then they relaunched it, and I think these 4 figures are just as good. Like they, I hope they continue this line because it is definitely my favorite personally. The Bret Hart from the original Defining Moments line, I still think is one of the best wrestling figures ever, along with the Macho Man, the WrestleMania Macho Man. So yeah, Defining Moments for me is going to be my top line until something takes it down.
Wow. Okay. Colton, what's your thoughts?
Man, I feel under-equipped to answer this question in this group of folks, man, because I'm probably the least the youngest in my figure collecting. But I mean, for me, it's kind of hard. I like the argument you made for the Hasbro line, Seth and Jordan. I mean, I just feel like on longevity, I mean, the Mattel Elite is pretty incredible. I mean, just so many different ones. But I mean, talking about the appeal and the the notoriety of the Hasbro line. I mean, like you see it. I mean, this is a Mattel that is modeled after the Hasbros, like meant to look kind of like it. These legends, man, and I love these. I'm sorry, I'm getting it right on Roddy there, but yeah, man. It's kind of hard to argue against the best line ever. That's really really hard for me to pick. I mean, I could definitely say what my favorite is, but definitely I feel like the Mattel Elites, man, is just on catalog alone is incredibly impressive. And I mean, just the articulation, it's pretty good shit. I mean, it's too early to tell and too early to call it on Jazzwares for me and where they're going to land in the grand scheme of things, but I have been really impressed by a lot of the stuff that I've seen from them. But I mean, Mattel, as far as Mattel Elite goes, my favorite line is the Target exclusive, the Legends, man. That was the first figure I ever bought.
Here we go. He's going to show us right now.
And it's not the Chase, but it's this Jake from from Series 8, man. Jake was always one of my favorites growing up. I had just gotten, it was like peak pandemic. I had beginning of pandemic, I got real sick with COVID pneumonia. I was in the hospital for like a week and off work for like a month. So I was just like dying to get out of the house. just to do something. And my wife's like, well, we're going to Target. And I was like, oh, let's go over here and check out action figures. And that's where my obsession started, was kind of being stuck at home and not being able to do anything. And just then I was buying figures on eBay left and right and finding stuff that I could get. And I've also got a real soft spot for some old Jack specific WWF figures, man.
So which ones? We talking Bone Crunchers, Ruthless Aggression, Classic Superstars,
So
Maximum Sweat?
You just rattled off like all the Jax figures.
you pretty much did. Man,
Unmatched
I'm
Fury.
not necessarily
Microaggression.
My cat just stole my seat. I like a lot of the like the WrestleMania series, like the real scans, like just the face scans on a lot of them. Like one of my favorite Jax figures I have is this Chris Benoit right
I
here.
think the R3 figures have held up pretty well.
Yeah,
man. I think
they've held up pretty strong.
They kind of got thrown in the mix of like, all Jack stuff is garbage there for a while. But I think if you go back and look, there's some really nice figures in the R3 line.
Yeah, you got to search, you got to dig for them, but they're in there.
Colton, there is no way you grabbed a Chris Benoit figure as one of your favorites and showed it on live air.
Sorry, dude.
That's what happens when the Chads leave, dude. The Turnbuckle Tavern's been going for damn near 4 years, dude. They do one debate with them gone. We're getting canceled.
I told you it's the inmates running the asylum. But man, this is such a hard question because there's so many great lines. Like, look now, the Ultimate Editions. You got the Supremes. I love the Coliseum collection from Mattel. Like that really hits the spot. But man, I've always like I grew up with the LJN. So like I think what you grow up with always has that special nostalgia, like place in your heart. So I grew up with this. So I collected all the LJNs when I was a kid. And then all of a sudden LJN stopped. And then what I get to replace them is this little piece of thing that you can't play with. Like, this is all it does. Like the LJN,
you can play with those more than LJNs. LJNs didn't even move, dude. And if you got an LJN in a crap, like look at that pose he's in, dude. Like, what can you even do with that?
Articulation for me as a kid when I was playing it. You could do a great hip toss. You could do body slams. There's so much you could do with these big figures. I just couldn't take. There you go. To go to a little thing like this as a kid was just disappointing to me. Like you just because I knew that if you were a kid growing up with these, now I like the Hasbros. Now I appreciate what they are, and I've started a little Hasbro collection. I've got Demolition, I've got the Road Warriors, but man, I love the Superstars line that's out now. That's so much fun. But to pick one, that's so hard to me. Like nostalgia, I would say LJN, but I don't think you could beat the Mattels. I really don't like the Elites.
Yeah.
And what we have in them, and like the Legends, like here's a little sneak peek. When I stopped buying after Jack stopped, I tapped out, except for the Legends collection that came out. Like I still had to buy
those
some.
Those are great. The original Legends line, I love those
like
figures.
Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov. I have the Piper and Orton 2-pack. I think that was a Toys R Us exclusive as well.
Akeem, Rick Martel. There's some great figures in that line.
I might have to piggyback off of Colton and go with the Legends line because I just absolutely I love getting Legends figures. Like I'll collect today's figures. I like getting like a couple of each new, like of the current day roster. If there's like an upgrade, I love that. That's the Amazon exclusive Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and Brock set. That's an amazing set. Like there's just so many great figures. How do you go against Mattel? I don't think you really can.
Mattel as a whole is just incredible. Mattel has amazing lines that have just gone out. Like look at like the old Target Hall of Fame series and the Hall of Champions. Yeah. Those are awesome figures, man. So yeah, like I said, Mattel is kind of like hater proof, man. I kind of mixed a little bit of like best and favorite. I thought hard about saying LJNs, man, because Hasbro's were kind of more my time period, right? Like I was 5 years old, I think, when Hasbro started dropping, but I'd played with LJNs first from my uncles. I had his and stuff. And then we ended up getting a whole set of LJNs from one of my cousins. But I was kind of looking at this from like the collector's aspect also. And it's just a pain in the ass trying to, like, if you went back to put together a set of LGNs right now, finding a set in good condition, because some of them are like pretty easy, but there's some of those like Ted DiBiase and like the Honky Tonk Man, the ones that weren't like cast in like skin tone, if they were like a different color than they painted them, that like, dude, it's hard to find one that doesn't look like ass. You know what I mean? And then you got to go down the route of getting them repainted possibly. That's a whole like moral dilemma, Yeah.
Dude, after we spoke about this, and I've told you I want to collect all the black cards, and eventually I will get them all. But in the meantime, I'm thinking of buying a banger up black cards just to have them repainted, to have them in my collection. Because
it's people that do it pretty cheap. But like I said, I feel kind of weird about repainting one of those. You know what I mean? Like just like I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me, man. To like repaint them, getting like a famous painting or something and like touching it up yourself. But
here's the Mona Lisa. Let's fix this up a little.
Yeah, but I think that may be what I do, just because it's just not economical, dude. I couldn't really justify with spending the amount of money it takes to get some of these in good condition.
Look, here's my axe from when I was a kid. The only thing bad with him is the nose.
Yeah.
Like you could easily touch that up, but I don't want to mess with the originality of it. And again, my Honky Tonk Man has a blue nose. I played with these. I was like, I think they came out in '84, so I was 9 years old. I got my use out of these figures. So, and I would never.
Are you gonna get the new Demolition, the big rubber guys?
Oh, they're already ordered. Are you kidding?
Nice.
And we just had Kleinik on on Fig Night.
Yeah.
And he pretty much told me that if you order 3 of each, you're almost automatically getting the chases.
So is that what you did?
Not yet, but now I might have
to. Madman.
I mean, because the chases are actually with this paint, with the red paint of Axe and Smash to match it. So, like, I kind of need both. How do you not get both? So, are you ordering those, Seth?
It was tempting because, don't tell Sheena, but I am strongly considering putting together an LJN collection at some point in the near future. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to go ahead and jumpstart it and grab this like Matt and Brian and Demolition, but I'm going to hold off and roll the dice. They are pricey, right? $50 a piece
Free
for them.
Shipping,
Free shipping. Yeah. Woo! But I think there's going to be people. I think there's going to be enough people that get these out of just FOMO and then end up wanting to move them. So I'm just going to roll the dice and hope that I can grab them down the line. So I'm not ordering them right now, but they're definitely on my radar.
If I order 3 sets, you can have them at cost, just so I don't, I'm not looking.
There you go. Yeah, because I don't want the chases. I just want the others.
I need both. I mean, I'm an LJN kid at heart. I absolutely need both. What about, since we're talking about best figure line ever, what is your favorite figure ever, Colton? Let's start with you.
Gosh, I don't know if I have a favorite ever, man. I could go favorite ever of like ones I have.
Yeah.
All right. And it's a more recent one, but it took me a while to find this guy, man. I lost quite a few bidding wars for this, but it's an Elite 63 Dusty Rhodes with the big gold belt and the Dusty Star t-shirt cap. I'm a huge Dusty Rhodes fan, and I shortly after I started collecting, I can't remember what series it was, but the polka dot one came out, and I was just like, man, that's not the one I want. This is definitely the one I want. And like, these are, I mean, it's not even that old, but there's just really, people aren't coming off of them, especially like in a good shape box. So I had 2 or 3. I definitely like missed a meeting at work to win this. Like, I was like 5-10 minutes late to a meeting at work to win this auction for sure. So, and the coolest part was like, I had barely missed out on one previously, and I had like somebody else won it for like $1 over what I decided my max bid was going to be that way. So I was fucking pissed, and I was like, all right, there's no way I can let the next one get away. And the coolest part was the box on this one was in better shape, and I got it for like $13 cheaper than that other one. So
meant to be.
Yeah, I think this, and then also too, this might be the most expensive figure I've ever bought for my personal collection. I think I spent $63 on this one. So.
Wow. Okay.
After shipping. Yeah.
Don't ask me what the most I ever spent on a figure is.
Like I said, I'm still a novice. I'm just
no, I'm not, dude. No, that's a good thing, dude. That's a good thing. That's the most you ever spent. I'm not proud of it, dude. Like if I was going back reviewing my trade, like, God, what were you thinking?
I'm not asking you to price that, but what is the figure that cost you the most?
So it was the 1 of 5 Ultimate Warrior Legends figure. The one he's in the USA shorts and he's got the white tank top with the American face paint and stuff. Wow. Jordan actually hooked me up with a hardcore private collector out of Denmark. The guy doesn't even use a real name. The name he gave me was Robert America. Dude has he sent me pictures. He has the absolute craziest wrestling figure collection I've ever seen. 1 of 1s, 1 of 5s, prototypes of stuff that never released. It's insane. And this dude is on no social media. He's got a Facebook account that he uses just for selling figures, but he doesn't post anything. He has no Instagram, no Twitter. He's just a straight up doing it for the love of the game, private collector. And he had a son on the way and was carving off a part of his collection. And he sold me one of those 1 of 5 Warriors.
You
So
still have
that's
it?
awesome.
I still have it, man. I still
that's
have
awesome.
it. I'll shoot you guys some pics next time I bust it out, man. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a gorgeous figure, man. My favorite figure ever, though. It's much more humble figure. The first Hasbro Bret Hart. He was still in the blue card. Just the plain gear. It was kind of like really like the Hart Foundation gear. He wasn't even like, didn't have the crazy stripes or paint splatter or anything. But that figure, I loved Bret Hart as a kid, and that was his first real solo figure he had. And my biggest Fig Fed days were with the Hasbros, and I just remember like having so many freaking pay-per-view main events with Bret going over, and it was always that figure. So that's my one. Yeah.
All right, Jordan, what's your favorite figure?
The LJ and Ultimate Warrior that I showed you guys. It's once I got that in my collection, it's pretty hard to argue for anything else, honestly. I mean, just having it in hand was I just got it 3 months ago, so it's still pretty new to me. But it used to be the Hasbro Ultimate Warrior, but it definitely got passed by this. So
I
set my LJ and Ultimate Warrior on fire as a kid, man. Just I cringed so much thinking about it. I told you I ended up getting a whole set of LJNs for my cousin. It was everybody except for the Hart Foundation and I think Haku, but everybody else, black cards, blue cards, everything. We got it for like, I think my mom gave my cousin like $100 for it. But, you know, the Hasbros were our nice figures. These LJNs, we'd always just played with like my uncles in my grandma's basement. And they were just these big rubber guys. So we beat the fuck out of them. And we were at my friend RC's house. We've been planning out this LJN pay-per-view for months. And this is 1996, 1997. We're just becoming aware of ECW. And the main event of our pay-per-view was King Kong Bundy and Ultimate Warrior. And our friend RC had an above-ground pool with a deck built around it. And so we got the bright idea. We're going to cover them in lighter fluid. And the ending of the match is they're both going to be set on fire. And then we just kick them into the pool. Yeah, so that's what I just completely desecrated this absolutely gorgeous figure. But it was a hell of a figure match, dude. Like, you know, it was about as good as it gets as far as Fig Fed goes.
That's awesome. I think if I had to pick my favorite going back to when I was a kid, I don't really know why, but I still love this figure, and I still love when he gets new figures, was my Mean Gene LJN. Like,
Beautiful
I remember
figure.
getting so excited for that figure, and I still have it here. It's still in mint condition because he didn't wrestle, except unless he tagged with Hogan and fought George the Animal Steel and Mr. Fuji, which you can see on Coliseum video. Like, I just loved Mean Gene as a kid. You know, he's like, to get that figure, like, you don't expect you're going to get that figure as a kid, and then it comes out. Like, now you think you can get anybody. But as a kid, that just hit me right, and I still love Mean Gene. I loved when I got his Mattels and his Build-A-Figures, and that's...
LJN, they were ahead of their time with the managers and the ringside personnel. Like, think about it. Hasbro gave us none. There were no managers in that line, man. No managers, no commentators. And even Jax, for the longest time, you know, it was like 3 years into the Bone Cruncher days with Jax before they gave us any managers or announcers or anything.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
When you think about it, that's really, really crazy. All right, what do you any closing comments before we move on to our final topic?
Collect wrestling figures. It's the best, man. Like I said, I think I'm a figure collector who's into wrestling more than like a wrestling fan who collects figures.
Dude, you said that to me the other day, and I think I'm the same exact way.
I get more excited for the figures than I do anything in the ring, man. I do.
I mean, I still get excited for certain moments, but the figures are what I look forward to the most. When you see that new lineup announced, I can't wait to like look at the pictures and get the close-up pictures. Like, I agree. I don't know if I would still be watching wrestling if I didn't collect figures. As much as I love wrestling, and I do, the figures are like it's that connection. Like, you get the little guys in your hand. It's just amazing.
I'd still watch, but I wouldn't be into it nearly as much. Like I said, the figures are what really drives my passion for it.
I agree. I definitely agree. All right. We've got one more topic. All right. What is your initial reaction to CM Punk's return and his promo at Collision? Now, Colton, since you were there, we're going to let you go first.
All right, man. And let me preface this as like, I'm not the biggest Punk guy by any means. Like, I was on a pretty big break from wrestling when he had his big run in WWE. So like my first acquaintance with Punk in real time was his first run in AEW. And I've talked a lot of shit on this dude since the Brawl Out has gone down. Like, I've even said it on previous debates. I said, if you're going to bring him back to AEW and not give us the payoff of CM Punk and FTR versus Kenny and the Bucks, then don't fucking bring him back at all. I don't want to see it at all. All that being said, I was in the crowd. That was not my first time at the United Center. First time for a wrestling show at the United Center. I lived in Chicago for a couple of years. I'd caught a Bulls game there before. Fucking great building to see wrestling in. And we were talking about this before we went on air, man. Like, and before the show, like, there was I was kind of unsure of what, even in Chicago, even in his hometown, unsure what his reaction was going to be, because there were definitely people booing him before it went live, like before the show came up. Like, it kind of seemed like, people would start seeing Punk chants, and then people like, oh, Punk sucks. So it seemed like it was almost 50-50, but like, dude, it was unreal, the volume of that crowd chanting his name before his music hit to open the show. And I gotta say, like, instant reaction, I was a lot happier with his return than I thought I was going to be. I kind of expected, I was expecting the worst. I was expecting him to kind of come out and get paraded around as just, this is an extension of the fucking victory lap, which is exactly what I did not want to see. I didn't think he was going to touch anything to do with the Buck situation with the 10-foot pole. Did he get as into it as I wanted to? No, not exactly. But the comment of him being the only real genuine article in a business full of counterfeit bucks, his backhanded apology to the crowd saying that I'm sorry that you're soft, the only people softer than you are the wrestlers you like. I mean, when the brawl out, like when I first watched the scrum, man, I thought it was a work the whole fucking time. And I was like, this is great. I cannot wait. Like, this is good wrestling right here, man. This is awesome. And then Tom, you and I have both been called crazy for saying it's a work the whole time more than once. You've stuck to it more than I have.
I think it's a work.
It fucking better be at this point. And it's just like, but now the fact that like the lines are a little bit blurred and we don't know if it's a word, that makes it even better for me. So, I mean, all in all, especially the promo, the match left a little bit to be desired for me, which most of Punk's matches do for me, to be perfectly honest. But I was into it, man. It really hit with me. I thought it was, I mean, maybe a part of it was getting swept up being there in person, but I liked what he had to say, and I'm glad to see him back, and heard that he's going to be on Dynamite this week. So excited to see where that goes.
That's good.
To me, man, going back to the work thing, the thing that makes me convinced it was all just a work, I think he knew right after the match he was hurt. And they're like, let's cook up something real quick, dude, for you're gone for 10 months. Is Ace Steel got rehired by AEW. And if it's true that he fucking bit Kenny Omega, there's no way you're bringing him back, dude. I don't care if it's for CM Punk or Roman Reigns or John Cena, whoever. You're not bringing anybody back if they literally bit another human in your company. Freaking EVP, dude. So I'm the same way as Colton, man. I was out of wrestling during CM Punk's big rise in WWE, so he was never, there was never any kind of like nostalgia for me. I just knew him as this like bitter guy who kind of walked out and would occasionally chirp like, negative shit towards the wrestling business. And since he's come back, like there's been some cool stuff, right? Like the dog collar match with MJF stands out, but for the most part, he's kind of just reaffirmed my thoughts of him from before he left. That being said, dude's definitely good for business, man. You can't really argue with the numbers he does on the pay-per-view buy rates, the TV ratings. And so if obviously Tony Khan feels like he's indispensable for what they're doing. So if him being there helps AEW do better business, continue doing the cool stuff they do that I am a big fan of, then I'll give him an unenthusiastic thumbs up for being back, man, even though I'm not really into anything he's doing on screen.
The Orange Cassidy thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did not take a break of wrestling at all. So when CM Punk was in WWE, I was still fully into it. I hated CM Punk in WWE. Like, fucking despise this dude. When they gave him the Undertaker match at WrestleMania, I thought it was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I did not understand it. I did not get why people liked this dude. He does the pipe bomb promo. I still don't get it. Dude, I can probably relate this a lot to like Daniel Bryan when he got over doing the yes movement and stuff. I didn't get that either. I just was never on board with it. It was just one of those things. Like usually the guys that like the crowd takes over and hijacks the show for them wanting to get over, those are usually the people I don't like, honestly. So yeah, CM Punk was never my favorite in WWE. Having said that, him signing to AEW, I mean, you can't deny it, dude. He draws in ratings, he draws in people, puts asses in seats. I mean, they ran a weekly show at United Center on Saturday night, and Colton, you were there. I mean, it looked like there was a shitload of people there.
Yeah, it was at 30 minutes before the show. It was looking kind of sparse, and then all of a sudden, dude, 5 minutes before the show, the only seats that weren't filled were the ones that were like behind the fucking entrance ramp.
And then the hard camera, obviously, which everybody makes a big deal about.
Exactly.
I'll never understand that either. Like, dude, have people just started watching wrestling? They never sell those seats.
The only people that ever goes in those seats is like people from backstage and like friends and family and stuff.
Yeah. So I think CM Punk coming back is good for AEW just because they need someone to help them draw some more ratings. Because I don't know why. It's just for some reason they can't build someone over enough to be like the number one star to just draw people in. Like they don't have a Roman Reigns to just draw in eyes. Like that's the biggest downfall for AEW right now is they don't have that one guy where they can just lean on him and be like, just go out there and do some shit and draw some ratings. CM Punk is that guy. He can go out there and he can draw you some ratings. Like, that's the one thing I'll say about him. He's 44 years old, so I'm going to give him a break on the in-ring work. Like, he's not a young dude like at all. He took 12 years off of wrestling, another downfall, and then went to UFC and got his brains beat in for 3 fights. So, I mean, it's not like this dude's like a Mensa member by any means, but it's good for AEW. I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of him, but it's definitely good for wrestling.
The guy, I mean, good or bad, he gets people to react, which is all you want. You want somebody who's going to get you to react. And I agree. Seth said something that I've been saying the whole time. When he got hurt again and he knew he was hurt, he said to Tony, I've got this. We're not going to do the whole interim thing again. And the fact that he comes out on Collision with that title and he's dropping little seeds, to me, we're absolutely getting that match. And that promo that he did on Collision tells me we're absolutely getting that match. And all the fact people are saying, oh, no, but the dirt sheets are saying they're still not talking and they're not going to work together. What story would it be if they come out and say they're talking and they're going to do the match? Like, what do we have to gain from that, you people? That doesn't
no one's better at working the dirt sheets than AEW, man. Like, they perfected that, dude. Working the
do
sports.
a great job.
That's a great point, because when they have wrestlers who are leaking things, they could build anything they want. It's the same thing going back to like MJF. Is he going to leave the pay-per-view and not fight Wardlow? I feel like AEW caused all that drama on purpose week before the pay-per-view to try and get more buy-ins because people are talking. And they did another one of those a year ago. I forgot even what it was. Like a week before the pay-per-view, there was some drama. And it's like, this isn't just a coincidence that this is happening before every pay-per-view. CM Punk said enough, and then the Bucks come out and they change their Twitter to reflect what he said in their promo. We're getting this match. We're getting the story. And CM Punk, the one thing CM Punk does, he knows how to tell a story, and he's going to draw eyes. Whether you want to boo him or you want to love him, that's up to you. But the fact that he's here, the fact that he's selling tickets, the fact that he's selling merch, the guy was out for 9 months and was still the top merch seller in the company. You couldn't not have this guy come back to a young company like this. Like, is he a crybaby? Yeah, I'll admit he likes to cry. But part of what I love about him is the fact that he'll come out in promos, whether it's a work or not, and he'll say shit you're not expecting him to say, like the counterfeit Bucks line or the pipe bomb and talking about Vince McMahon and Triple H, because nobody does that on TV. Like, that's good storytelling. And you know what? Like I said, love him or hate him, he's doing his job and people are tuning in and people are talking about it. If he did it and nobody talked, guess what? We wouldn't be seeing him on our TVs right now.
That's a mic drop, dude.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we follow that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's real quick. I have another question for you guys regarding this. Overall thoughts, initial thoughts to the first episode of Collision, the whole episode overall.
Fucking home run, dude. I thought it was really good. It exceeded my expectations. I was kind of worried. I was worried about it, honestly. Like, I wanted to go because I wanted, my dad is who, made me a wrestling fan. Like, my dad always had wrestling on growing up. And, for me to be able to, like, my dad lives in a town of 14,000 people. He works at the same fucking job he's worked since he was 18 years old. He's 62 now. Like, he comes from, like, for me to be able to give my dad this experience and share this with him was, like, really special to me. I didn't really give a shit how good of a show it was going to be. Yeah. But, like, we were swept up in it, man. And it was an awesome show. Like, I thought that they delivered on everything that we have said on previous debates that we wanted. It was a unique looking set. It was its own commentary team. Getting Kevin Kelly back on commentary made my fucking night, dude.
Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah, exactly. I also got a Sunday Night Heat Eddie Guerrero of Jack Pacific up here as well. Probably should have grabbed that one other than the Benoit. But yeah, man, it was, and also there's like some of the match quality, like Andrade versus Buddy Matthews, even though they did call him Buddy Murphy, which was pretty. So I really don't want to give Dasha any more shit. That's easy to do. I've done it myself. So I mean, it's. But man, that match was incredible. Andrade's reception, yeah. I mean, I just thought all around that this was, and they didn't try to overbook it, so I was a little worried about that too. Now, I thought this was great, and like Jordan, to go with what you were saying about how AEW doesn't seem like they like have that one guy. I think a lot of that comes down to just like the fact that we've been running on Dynamite and then an hour-long Rampage, which I'm really hoping at this point goes away. Like the fact that we have another show now and you have a little bit more room to spread out this loaded and stacked roster that you have. Like, I think we're going to get more guys than just Punk now that we can, you know, and I love that it's not a super hard brand split. Like obviously you got Collision guys and you got Dynamite guys, but you're going to see people pop up on both. I don't ever want to see a fucking draft in AEW, and it doesn't look like we're going
Wildcard
to.
rule.
So yeah,
he's a free agent.
Yeah, I give it a fucking 5 stars, man. It vastly exceeded my expectations.
I'm hoping something that carries over to Dynamite. Like the biggest thing to me, it was a pretty good show, man. Like I totally get, like I'm sure it was much better live than it came off on TV. It was decent enough on TV. But I love that stuff had a chance to breathe, man. If I had one complaint about Dynamite, really from the start, Daryl will do some really cool shit, and then before you really get a chance to like process and soak it in, it's like bam, another segment, and it'll be something goofy, right? Like we'll see some badass moment with like, let's say Jungle Boy, and then 2 seconds after it's over, where I'm seeing a fucking QT Marshall interview, dude. And it's just like, no, man, like let's, you know, like the one that goes back that I go back to is when Jungle Boy got his world title shot against Kenny Omega. They had a kick-ass match. Jungle Boy came up just short. And then I can't remember what it was, but there was like a fucking beatdown angle. It was like a classic WCW Nitro ending right after. And I'm like, no, dude, you should have ended with like Jungle Boy's, you know, struggling to get to his feet and let the crowd give him a fucking round of applause. Let it end like that. But it was like fucking maybe Christian or somebody like that running in to beat up Kenny Omega. It's like, no, dude, this is not what anybody's looking for.
I thought this show was great. I thought they started off really well. One thing that annoys me a little bit is we've all known Andrade and Miro have been ready to wrestle for a while now. Dude,
they were injured.
Bringing them both back on the same fucking show basically kind of just tells me like we had nothing for them without the second show. Like, how did those guys have nothing? How do you have nothing for those two guys? Like, they put so many shitty people on Dynamite, and you have nothing for those two of all people. Come on, dude. Like, I'm hopeful that the second show will help alleviate that, and we won't see that anymore. Because that did kind of piss me off that they put them both back on the same night. Like, dude, those dudes are way too talented to leave off TV for that long. Andrade's incredible. I'll never understand that. Like, that one, I still don't understand how WWE effed that up, because
he's the man, dude.
He's absolutely incredible. Like, and then, dude, Miro, when he was Rusev going into WrestleMania 31, he was like unstoppable. He was arguably one of the top 5 stars in the company at that point, and they completely botched that too. And AEW is doing the exact same thing with him. I don't get it. The talent is there.
I agree. His run as TNT champion was massive, and then it just ended and he disappeared. And I agree with you. I hopefully have in 2 hours. Like, same thing. Wardlow wins the TNT title the first time and he disappeared from TV for months. Like, that can't happen. Like, what are you doing? I thought Collision was really good the other night. I'm just worried that they worked extra hard to make sure their first episode was going to be off the charts. It makes sense. However, with Danielson and Dax and other people having input into creative and helping with this show, like, I'm hopeful that we do see something different. And the way that just the whole flow of the show is different than what we're used to on Dynamite or Raw. So I hope they keep up with that. But going back to what you said about production, like, sometimes I watch AEW and their camera, like their takes, their views, their angles, they still mess that up half the time. It's like, how do you not learn yet? Like, you have to shoot this from this angle so that we can see the way it really is. Like, I just don't understand how they haven't totally tightened that up yet. But that's just me being a little nitpicky. But I loved Collision. I'm excited to see if it continues going like that. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like Saturday, the night before Forbidden Door. So I think it's great that they get another 2-hour show to tell real stories. So I'm really happy with it so far.
Can we please, dude, I know people love him. For the love of Christ, does JR really need to be on that show? Like, dude.
They need to go back to using JR how WWE did that last year. Break him out for a big match every once and again, dude. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got something going on.
I personally, I love JR, and when they first made the announcement,
we all do,
he was going to be. When they first made the announcement, I was excited. I haven't made it to the match yet. Like I said, I only started watching it last night, and I stopped right after Buddy Matthews versus Andrade. So I've heard already all over the internet about how he's. I mean, dude, I'm wondering because he fell on the way to the fucking airport like before he went to the show. And like he posted a picture of himself, this huge shiner on his social media before he even boarded the fucking plane.
Like I love barroom brawl, man.
Yeah, dude. Like,
hey, I gotta spoil one thing for you about the commentary. So they ask him right when he comes out. They're like, "Well, we'd hate to see the other guy in this brawl." They don't show him though.
I feel like that's like the third or fourth time he's had a fall like that in the last few years. Dude, I feel like every 6 months I'm seeing him tweet out looking like he got his fucking ass whooped, dude.
Well, it's like, is he really having a fall, or is he?
That's what I'm saying. I think he's getting drunk, going and mouthing off, dude, to some big fucking I think he's brick shit house at the bar, dude.
I think he's giving some girls a scholarship. It's got a boyfriend, is what I think's happened. But yeah, I mean, I wanted him there, but honestly, man, I'm just a huge fan of I'm a big fan of. I prefer 2-man commentary teams. I just do. Yeah. It just I've never been a fan of the 3-man. Even you can give me the 3 best guys in the world. I prefer a 2-man team.
Same.
And so I have to wonder with that fall, like, was it supposed to be a 3-man team the whole show, and he only felt well enough to come out and do the main event, or was the plan for him to be on the main event the whole time? So,
I mean, rumor was he was supposed to do the whole show. He was part of the announce team. I think that's something they just went with, and he didn't have much of a voice that night. You could tell he was not feeling well, so I hope he feels better soon. And like, again, I agree. Bring him in for a match. Bring him in for an interview. Use him in special spots. He doesn't need to do everything. I think that'll keep it fresh. And he's JR. Like, so, and I think if he stays at home and he doesn't have to travel every week, the guy's not a healthy guy. We know he has Bell's palsy and he's been through all this stuff. I think he'd probably be better if he worked less. Yeah. Let the guy rest in between and bring him for big moments.
Tell him to stop
it'd be cool. Remember
blue chews.
Remember back in 97 when he would do those like sit down interviews with guys? Remember he had the famous one with Mick Foley where Mankind put him in the mandible claw. He did one with Steve Austin, did one with Triple H. Let him do stuff like that, man. I think that'd be real cool.
And he's done a couple of those in AEW. Like, that's how you get young talent over. That vignette with Mankind has helped made Mick Foley. That's how he knew Mrs. Foley's baby boy. That's a huge part of Mick Foley's career.
Yeah. Mick Foley said on his podcast, he said when they did that's when Vince McMahon really started to buy in that this is a guy who could be a main eventer.
Wow. That's awesome.
One thing I will say about JR, he never changes who he is. That dude is horny all the time on Twitter.
That's awesome. All right. You guys have any closing comments on this topic?
Nah, just thanks for having us on again, man. This was a fun one to talk about, man. I think we got a nice set of topics to roll into a big week of wrestling after Forbidden Door.
Yeah, it's exciting weekend coming up. By the time you hear this, the weekend will probably be almost all over. But I'd like to thank all of you for coming on tonight and joining me and getting us a debate out. I can't wait to have the Chads back here. And Seth, why don't you plug the Pod Foundation, Chick Foley Show, plug it all. Tell them where they can find you guys.
So first off, check out our fellow Pod Foundation brethren. In addition to the Chick Foley Show and the Turnbuckle Tavern, check out our buddy J-Bone coming down the aisle and the Extra Cooler Show. But between the four of us, man, we got pretty much every angle you want to hear about on a wrestling podcast covered. And then follow Chick Foley on Instagram and go to chickfoley.com to get links to our podcast on the different platforms. And you can find a link to join our Patreon exclusive Facebook group, which is a ton of fun. So
it's a load of fun.
chickfoley.com.
Jordan, tell them where they can find you.
I got nothing. Chick Foley Show. That's it.
Me and Jordan both keep our stuff kayfabe, man. Like outside of you guys, there's like 3 coworkers I have that even know I do a pod. This is like my secret life.
I get that. Colton, tell them where they can find you.
Man, you guys can find me on Thursday nights on the Turnbuckle Tavern YouTube. Big announcement, though. So by the time this airs, it'll have already happened once. But we're changing things up, man. We're hanging up Honor Society, and starting this Thursday, Ace and I are doing an Impact show called Brace for Impact, where we're going to be covering weekly Impact TV. As much as we love Ring of Honor, I think everybody's been wanting to see Impact representation on the Turnbuckle Tavern for a while. We're just going to pivot and go to just previewing Ring of Honor pay-per-views and covering weekly results on Wrestling Tonight between Ace and Chad. We asked Chad for a big favor, and he already got layovers and graphics and everything done for us. So this Thursday, we're pushing to 10:30 because we're going to be watching it live, and it's an hour later than Ring of Honor, but we're going to be going live on the Turnbuckle Tavern 10:30 on Thursdays. Brace for Impact, giving you everything Impact weekly, man. They've been doing some really cool shit over there. I'm really excited to cover it.
Let me know if you guys ever want me to come on and talk about the Wednesday pay-per-views in 2004. Love to talk about the $9.99 pay-per-views every Wednesday night.
Hell yeah, man. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's big news. You heard it here first, even though the first episode probably aired by now.
Yeah. To be fair.
All right, guys. That is it. And I guess it's time for me to get my shit in, even though Sneed's not here. You can follow me at the OG Fig Kid on Twitter and Instagram, and do not miss Fig Night every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys for joining me, and until next week, love, peace, and pro wrestling.